I have my own opinion too. I think women should have their safe space. I think if you were a man assigned at birth, you shouldn't compete in female sports. So I don't give a 2 BT Paulina who comes on to Paul wants to compete with Faith. It's their business. Let them fight their battle.
Just like I was saying to our Mrs. Sahara, she's a woman now, but in my head, she was a man. And I can't get over that line to get down with someone like her.
Who are born as women should be able to stand and say, I'm a woman, without another person that is a trans woman or a trans man telling them how they should feel.
In the sense that you need to see some videos of trannies beating men, and then you will understand why they should not be allowed to compete with women. You're a tranny, they enjoy it there. Do your tranny. But we're talking about competition. So I don't see any ground or any reason where a tranny should be allowed to compete against other women. See, this is a main event issue. The same way we created room for disabled people to compete against themselves, we have to create for trannies to compete against themselves. So, if they want to compete so bad, let's tranny cyclists compete with tranny cyclists. Let's tranny basketballer compete with tranny basketballer.
So are you saying we're not, because we have the Olympics, we have the Paralympics? Are you saying we need to have a tranny Olympics, or what are you insinuating?
No. Call it tranny Olympics. Call it para-tranny.
So are you saying we're not, because we have the Olympics, we have the Paralympics? Are you saying we need to have a tranny Olympics, or what are you insinuating?
No. Call it tranny Olympics. Call it para-tranny.
Jesus Christ.
They're not disabled.
No, because they're not disabled. They just want equal rights.
Are you hearing what I'm hearing?
In the normal
That's why I said that they're not
disabled competing in normal Olympic,
Sorry?
What do you mean not?
In the Olympic, that was not the Paralympic, the Olympic, the normal one, we still have the disabled people participating in that. They take part in it. Yeah. Those that Nigerian boy that play or run for England. The well-known Nigerian guy, I forgot his name. I did something.
Okay. What is his disability?
Yeah, what's his disability?
I think he's on a wheelchair now.
I don't think so.
Oh, I'll find his name. So. He's always on TV.
I think
So that guy who is on wheelchair cannot compete with Usain Bolt.
No, they compete with themselves in the
yes. That's the same to yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
I know the brother, he has a dreadlocks.
That's it. Yes. Big dentition. Yes. So let's disabled people who are on wheelchair compete against disabled people. Don't bring that guy on a wheelchair to come and run beside Usain Bolt. It's unfair. So if you're a tranny, you don't compete with women. Compete with another tranny. And we'll give you a category called para-trannies or tranny Olympics or whatever. Pick your name. We don't care. So don't come and impose your orientation on everybody else. We respect you. We love what you want. It's okay. If we can live with people with mental illness and we manage them properly, why should we have problem with you? So no problem. They don't even like to be called transform people.
Okay. Let me just come in for 2 seconds. I think and I'm not trans, but in our conversation, with Miss Sahara, I think what the trans community have always solicited for is, I wouldn't say acceptance, but be able to share a common space as every other person, i.e. cisgendered people. And I think why we're having this conversation is that people are tired of their rights being eroded in favor of the LGBTQ community. Now, that being said, America is looking to have another box in their passport now where you can have MX, right? So you've got Mr., Miss, Mrs., and MX. So spaces are being created for people that don't generally go into the boxes that we have. So if that can happen, I don't see why spaces can't be created for people that identify as LGBT. Like in my organization, we have a genderless toilet. We have genderless, we have male, we have female. Go into the one that you're comfortable. The reason why a lot of people have issues with transgender women going into cis women's toilet is because we've had instances where some women has been victim of domestic violence, and it kind of rehashes their trauma, and you can't negate their trauma. We all have things that we respect that and validate that. You have to, exactly, you have to respect what that person is going through.
And Yuri, just to buttress that point you've made about the toilet, is because I remember in America when Jenna, the Jenna lady, came out and said, you know, and then there was this whole debacle about the toilet and allowing a trans woman go into a female toilet, and then people were afraid of sexual abuse. So sometimes you might be in a restaurant, for example, and your daughter wants to go to the toilet, and you're like, yeah, go, it's just around the corner. But not knowing that somebody who is a trans has also gone into that same toilet. And there is a possibility that, anything can happen, right? There could be sexual abuse. I'm not saying women are not also predators as well, but then parents are afraid of things like that. And this was one of the arguments that was going on in America just a few years ago. So how do you? I think
we need to challenge our perception. We don't need to be afraid of anyone. Look, go back to the civil unrest during the days of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. These dudes didn't allow Black people share same facilities with them. It was the same way. They would say be very scared of white Black people, because Black people would rape, Black people would kill you. Anytime Black people just come out with monkeys, we just kill people. Like that's the perception. That's what the scientists told them. They believed that if Black man or Black woman came to the swimming pool, they were gone, or they would call the police. They would burn doors out. So that perception was what happened at the time until people fought and died for the fight. So I don't think that is valid at all. That fear.
No, but Jude, it is valid because you have a daughter.
I don't think it's valid.
No, but wait, Jude, you also have a daughter. So now imagine, right, that your daughter, goes into the toilet. To use the toilet, and all of a sudden there is a trans woman in that toilet who, for I'm really sorry, for lack of a better word, has not gone through the whole transformation. And this is a man dressed like a woman gone into a female toilet, and your daughter runs out of the toilet and say, "Mommy, there is a man in the toilet." How is that going to be?
I won't run out there and punch the guy. Did the guy?
No, it's not a matter of running out there. I'm not by any means saying you have to be physically violent. Your daughter is quite older, but
even when my daughter, why would you let your daughter who was younger go in the toilet? We've been in restaurants from when it was growing up. If my daughter was going to the bathroom, my wife was already with her. If my boys were going,
but there are parents who don't do that.
Responsibility on their side. If my daughter was able to go to the bathroom, I said, then she would go. If she come and run it, Dad, there was this woman, man, or whatever, flipping out Willie, then that person will be facing the firing squad from me that minute.
So what if that's the point?
But what I'm saying, we shouldn't have the fear. I would not have the fear because you're transiting from your genders. I won't have that fear because the women can abuse too. So why don't I fear because other women are going there? That fear is not valid. You shouldn't have that fear.
When your daughter comes to you and says that, then what would you do?
That's what I'm saying. If my daughter runs out and says there was this person in there, I thought this person was a woman, but this person then brought the willy out and flipped it at me. That is exposing. That's when I will kill you.
Right.
But if that didn't happen, she just saw this person, she thought it was a man. That's her business. It's got nothing to do with her. Were you touched? Were you harassed? No.
Okay. So what you're saying is, so someone like Ade now can just be in the toilet with a 6-year-old girl and say, okay, yes, everybody can use whatever toilet you want.
Your toilets are private. Women don't go and stand like this as men do.
Wait.
You go in your cubicle, you shut your door. So that's what I expect my daughter to do and Bookie to do if he went in there. But if Bookie now came out of his own cubicle and was flipping, that's when I will go flipping as well.
You have to think about going for swimming in the community center to understand. In the community center, the changing room is open. Okay? You go to swim, your child saying, "Oh, Daddy, I'm coming. I want to go and remove my swimming trunk and wear my clothes." And she opens that cupboard. And while she closes that cupboard like this, she sees a man next to her wearing bra with the willy dangling there.
You said
he doesn't need to wiggle it at her. It doesn't.
You just said a man. We're talking about a woman.
Or you can be having a shower in the changing room.
A tranny is a man who is going through the process of becoming a woman. He hasn't done the operation yet, but he came into that changing room as a woman with bra.
I understand where you're coming from. What I was trying to say is this: one, what's that establishment's policy? They will deal with that. Two, I'm saying we shouldn't have
the trauma of your daughter.
Listen, I'm saying I should not have that fear of everybody. Otherwise, I won't leave my door. You don't know people with mental ill health. We have them
that's you, dude. That's you. What about a child?
That's
the
you.
thing about it is that
doesn't.
The child don't have this fear. It's the parents who put the fear first of all. When the child doesn't get
no, Jude. A female child who goes into the female toilet and sees a man in there. They have.
Let me use my child as a case in point. I've said it maybe till she's 15. I'll be following her to the toilet. That's just a personal decision. I take her to the toilet.
She's a child.
She's a child. So, and right now, younger children might not be exposed to a trans woman or a trans man. So there's a possibility that that child will run out and say, there's a man in there. Yeah. Because this is not something they're used to. And Celia, the issue with the American that you're coming up was because I'm going to make sure I get my facts right. A trans man was in a homeless hostel and he had not completed, the trans person had not completed the whole process and raped a cis woman. So that was where this whole backlash of in the States that, oh, a trans person is not fully a cis woman, yada, yada, yada. So, but Jude might say, okay, it's not a valid fear. But for parents that do not have maybe a trans person within their community, these are not conversations you will have with your child, that you might run into a guy that, someone that seemingly looks like a woman, but beneath them, they still have their male parts. So it's a fear that parents do have. We can't negate that. And the reason for that, Jude, let me finish. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just trying to let you see the other side of the coin. That
I never said they shouldn't have that fear. I said we shouldn't encourage it because of what happened to us as Black people.
No. It's not like we're gonna sit there and put these things in our children. I think it's just like me now. If I go into a female toilet and see a man there, I'm gonna feel a certain type of way.
We're not getting my point. I'm not saying we're putting fear in our children. I said we shouldn't entertain that fear at all about people. That's what I'm saying.
Jude, but that is an ideal word. Human beings are human beings.
Do you want to be afraid of everybody you see? No.
Not compare race to
but you are different. I am different. I might be able to
race to sexuality. Race and sexuality are two different things.
Yeah.
We Black people went through our hell. It's okay. Sexuality and race are not the same. They are not on the same level. They're not on the same level. We have to understand that. If a girl child goes into a changing room, open changing room, and a man is walking up and down from shower to cupboard, using cream, wearing bra, even if we're trying to tell the child, don't be afraid, the child will never be able to overcome or get over that, mental imbalance. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Am I going mad? You're saying I shouldn't be afraid. There's a man in the female toilet. It is not easy to tell a child that, oh, it's okay, change, don't worry, he's not gonna harm you. Whereas at home, the mom is telling her, no, daddy's in the room. Wait, let daddy finish before you go in. Don't worry, daddy is different from us. Oh, your brother is changing. Leave the bathroom. Yeah. And then you're telling her to accept it outside. It's not the same.
Mr. Jags, your private house is your private house. Public spaces, they can put public laws. That's why I said genderless bathrooms. The first time I walked into RBKC, I was scared shit because I walked into this place. I ran out because I thought I entered the wrong place. I saw loads of women, some with towels coming out of the bathroom. I said, I'm so sorry. I ran out and I said, no, it is genderless. It took me a couple of weeks before I got used to that. So
and that's you, an adult man. How do you expect a 5-year-old child to get used to that?
Because I didn't know he existed in Britain. I walked into that place. I saw loads of women, some with towel because there's a bathroom there as well. I walked out apologizing, but they then said, no, it's a genderless one. They say it's a genderless one. So, oh, I didn't know. Then I was comfortable using it. That's what I'm saying.
But Jude, we're not talking about a genderless toilet. I think what we're talking about is trans women, whether those women are going through their journey, right? using a female toilet or a female changing room, and a young child or a child coming into that changing room or that toilet and saying that for some reason that this woman, this is a female bathroom or changing room, but there is a man who looks like a woman in there. That's what we're saying. The reaction that child would have. And is that child not justified to have that kind of reaction? Right?
The child is justified. I never said the child wasn't justified.
That's what we're trying to say.
The child is justified. I'm telling you, we as the adults shouldn't entertain that fear, because you don't leave your house, be afraid of everybody.
Well, unfortunately, we have to then go through the process of saying to the child, oh, by the way, this is it. And some people are going through, do you understand? Some people were born men, but they're not happy in the bodies they've been born with, and they want to go through the process of becoming a woman. And this is why because of equality, you would see people. So do you not see that that is a lot to have to explain to a 6, 7, 8-year-old child, right?
It's the same thing we're telling people to do about race.
It's different, Jude. There is a difference.
I don't think so.
There is a difference. Okay, let's not go into that. There is a difference, because when you're born, you are not able to choose your race, right? You are born with it. But other people can argue that some people who are trans, right, this is a choice that they've made, while others haven't made. Someone like Miss Sahara, she's come on the show, she said her story, and she said in her mind she didn't understand why she wasn't developing the female organs, because she felt she was a woman, and her mind was saying she was a woman, but what she was saying physically was different.
Well,
so in a way, you can look at
Sahara told you, right?
So yes, that's what Miss Sahara said on the show.
One of the black sister who came out and said in her head she's a white woman. So because she said it, you will take that? I'm asking you.
Okay, so Jude, what I'm saying is sometimes, right? Some trans people might make that decision. I don't know how they come about making that decision. And as I said, people have different stories. Everybody's trans journey is different. So this is Mrs. Sahara's own, I'm saying. Why others, for whatever reason, have decided to be trans. But what I'm saying is when you're born black or white, you had no choice. You grew up and realized that actually,
are you saying Miss Sahara didn't have a choice when she was born? Are you saying she had? So are you saying it's different for her? She was born with that choice as well. She was born what she was born with. If
what I'm saying is some trans people.
So you guys are questioning the same thing you started with.
When you were born,
what was she born at? Tell me, please.
When you were born,
what was Miss Sahara born as?
She was born as a man. She was male. She was assigned male.
Are you saying she had a hand in that, or she didn't have a hand in that?
She didn't have a hand in that.
You didn't have a hand in that.
She didn't have a. Jude, listen. Yeah, listen. What I'm saying is, some trans people, right, i.e. Mrs. Sahara, when they're born, right from a very young age, yeah, they realize that, oh no, when they start growing up and they don't see the female organs and things like that developing, then they start thinking that, oh no, this is not what I want to be, or I'm in the wrong body. Because when you go and watch that video and listen to her story, you would see the mental things that she went through, the struggle that she went through. Listen. So there are some trans people that go through that journey, whereas there are other, because Mrs. Sahara noticed this from a very young age, right? Whereas there are other trans people. Look at the Jenna woman, I can't remember her name, for example.
Kathleen.
She's in her 60s before she suddenly says she wants to become a woman. So I'm saying
I don't think so. You haven't watched the story too.
Sorry?
She had that issue from when she was young, before she became a gold medalist. She had it, she just could not do it because of the times. So our story is the same as Miss Sahara.
Okay, no, but wait. The Jenna lady and Mrs. Sahara, the Jenna lady is older than Mrs. Sahara. So if Mrs. Sahara went through her journey in Nigeria, a place that is not accepting of people, of trans people. Jude, wait. Let's stop it. Listen, Miss Sahara went through her journey. I don't know how old Mrs. Sahara is, but let's assume she's 40. And she has been going through this journey since she realized that she doesn't have breasts, she doesn't have the female organs, and she started to feel, no, this is not me, this is not what I want to be. That's when her own mental journey started, right? So are you telling me, let's assume Mrs. Jenna is 60 years old. So Mrs. Sahara is 40, for example, Jenna is 60. So are you telling me When Miss Jenna was 60 in America, sorry, when she was 20 in America and Miss Sarah was 1 in Nigeria, Mrs. Jenna could not start her transitioning journey.
I'm not going to tell you to go watch her story. It's there on Netflix.
You see, on Netflix. You have to understand, Celia, you have to understand that this journey we're talking about, what Nigeria is going through now, America has been there too. Those people in their 60s, they only have that courage now because the world is accepting.
But Mrs. Sahara has been on her journey from when she was a child. So are you trying to say Miss Sahara left Nigeria to come to the UK when she was a teenager? And then Nigeria wasn't even accepting of it. She had to leave.
Of course.
But the United States, to an extent, was already accepting of it. So why did the Jenna lady, why didn't she change then? Why did she have to wait until now to do her training? But anyway, you know what?
So I'm just trying to create a balance between you and Jude.
Yeah.
But what I want you to understand is when you are being born into this world, you don't ask to be born, or you tell them, please, so before you give that to me, make sure I'm white or black.
Yeah, you don't.
Come into this world and see that you are black or you are white.
Yes.
While growing up, you can discover that actually, you know what, I don't like to dress this way, I want to dress this way. Or I don't like this, I want to have that. You can make a choice that you want to be a tranny, you want to be a girl, you want to be a boy. You can decide what time you want to come out public. But what you cannot change is your race. Even if you bleach, you cannot decide to be white. If you decide to be white, they will look at you and be like, Obeni, Park.
Yeah.
Do you get? That's the difference.
Yes.
You can make a choice to have a gender change. You can't make a choice to have a race change. You can't change your race.
Thank you. That's what I've been trying to say. But anyway, let's move on. Because the Shade Borough broke a news, I think it was today, Yori, I saw you sent it to me, where I'm going to read, okay? Governor Ivey, the governor of Alabama, has signed a bill called the SB 184, and that bill formally bans doctors from giving puberty blockers and hormones to transgender youths and subject that doctor to 10 years imprisonment if they do so, right? She has also signed another bill called the HB 322 that forces transgender youths to use the bathroom of the sex they were assigned at birth, okay? Now, lastly, she has also banned all discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity in Alabama elementary school from kindergarten through the 5th grade. And this is not, she said, this is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate, the bill states, okay? Speaking about the highly controversial decision, she said in the statement, the governor said in the statement, there are very real challenges facing our young people, especially with today's societal pressures and modern culture. I believe very strongly that if the good Lord made you a boy, you are a boy. If he made you a girl, you are also a girl. And then when she was responding to criticisms, she said, when she was responding to criticism about banning the teaching of sexual orientation and all of those in elementary school, she said, we are talking about 5-year-olds for crying out loud. We need to focus on what matters. Core instructions like reading and maths, and not about, transgender. Now, Ade, let me come to you because I heard you clapping, shaking head and whatnot. What do you think about that? Isn't that like, come on now, we've been doing this. They've been trying to bring in the teaching of, gender orientation and all those kind of things into schools. And then all of a sudden in the state of Alabama, this bill has been signed and it's banned all of that. And not just that, it has now also stopped doctors from giving puberty blockers to youths, to young teenagers who want to transition into becoming a man or a woman. I mean, what is this? Ade, you're on mute. Ade, you are on mute.
Can you tell me, as a mother, right, that your 5-6-year-old can make a decision on their own?
I don't believe they can, no.
All right, so you know that what the lady was saying was right. Was it necessary? Is that a core subject to say, I want to teach a child if you want to be a man and be a woman. No, it's not. It's not. It's a waste of time. If you want to teach that, go to your home and teach your child. If your child show interest and say, "Mommy, I want to wear," Paul wants to wear Cecilia's dress. That's you and the dad to decide whether you want to buy their dress. I don't think it should be taken to school. I don't have a problem against them. I keep saying it. I have no issue against them. But I have my own children in school that, under my own belief, I don't think my children need to know that yet. When they get to an age where they can form their own decision, they can decide that. Just like I tell my kids, if you want to be a Christian, you be a Christian. Want to be a Muslim, they will grow up and decide. Right now, I tell people I'm a Muslim and I'm a Jew, right? I believe in God. I don't have religion. I don't have any issue with gay people, whether you're trans, but there's a certain barriers we can't cross at certain time. We need to respect other people's way of life as well. We can't just be imposing some circle onto every people. It's not right. It's not right. And I keep saying it. Like I said in my office and my work group one time, when Boris said they're not going to bother about people having COVID vaccine to get to work, I forgot about people in my team, they've taken vaccine. I just said, well, I don't feel sorry for people that took it because they have their way of thinking to decide. And I've got people in the team that say, oh, I think you can't say that. Well, I've said it. I'm just telling you my own opinion. They know me at work that, I've been the only Black person in that team. They know I'm saying my mind because they come to you and say, take this, take that, but it doesn't cure this. It doesn't stop you from having it, but you decide and jump and take the vaccine. And now when the government now said, okay, we're not bothered about other people not taking their work, you now decide to be angry. Do you understand? So you can't be angry. So I don't think it's right. I think the American governor is right in whatever she decides, which for me, that's the right way to go about it. We're not stopping you from being what you want to teach your children. Teach them in your own time, in your own private space. I don't want my children to learn it at this stage. They're not ready for that. Government needs to understand that.
Particular class. We're not including a particular class in this discussion. Where do we put hermaphrodites? Where do we put those guys that have natural boobs, but with a male genital?
Can I tell you something? There's people that have hermaphrodites and they're in the class with us from school.
Intersex, people, intersex.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I am not clued up with those things because I'm not bothered with them.
Hermaphrodites is a right issue as well.
We never had problem with them, okay? There might have been people in my secondary school class that I was with. They never tell me they had that. So I didn't know. I saw them as whatever they present themselves to be.
There are people who have female genitalia without breast.
Yeah, I think probably because you work in that field or area, you understand it. But what I'm saying is, we as a human being, we have no problem with whatever they have, okay? Because we don't even see it. They have it as their own private apartment or private part or private issue. That's their thing. But we get on with them. But it's not for them to now come and impose their own thing and say, oh, you must learn this. No, we don't know about it. We don't need to know.
So,
we don't need to know. As far as I'm concerned, let's everybody just carry on as we are before.
Somebody who has a 36 double H cup with a male genitalia, okay, trying to go into the toilet. He or she is walking through the toilet, male or female. Where does that kind of person go to?
My brother, can I tell you? I have a Muslim guy.
Hold on. Jude said something, genderless. We don't even have these genderless bathrooms everywhere, only at specific locations. Now, this class of people, what do they do? Where do they go to?
That's why we need to advocate that we have more genderless toilets. Okay? So
no, we don't need, that's not. We can't advocate genderless toilets for everybody. I don't want, some people might not want to be mixed with them. You can't, you're trying to impose some people's right or some people's freedom on other people. No.
Genderless means either you're a man or a woman.
Listen, if as a Muslim guy, he goes to a toilet, a male guy with me, that's where I can stand, take out my willy and just whip it out and wee. He goes to the big cubicle. He has a choice. He goes in the cubicle, sit down on the toilet, do his own thing, right? So don't impose genderless toilets. I don't agree with it, right? Let's have man and woman. If they want to have their own, give them their own. They can use disabled people toilets. It's fine. Nobody's stopping them.
Okay. Let me go back to Celia's question about the governor. in Alabama. Alabama is very predominantly very old school white Republican states. So you would imagine laws like this to come out. I think
very religious as well.
Very religious, so evangelicals. So I think and I've said this, I don't have an issue if you feel that you're not born in the right body and you take measures to make sure that your body matches your brain. But I'm of the view that it shouldn't be taught in school. It's not necessary. And I'm saying it's not necessary in the sense that, okay, kids don't actually discriminate. They're the freest human being in the world. So if you want to dress purple, I don't think those kids care. It's only when they get to maybe 15, 16, that's when they need to know someone needs to be this way. But generally, people in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't think they bother. But if the law says you cannot vote until you're 18, you cannot smoke until you are 21. Smoking kills, doesn't it? So we're saying you are not allowed to kill yourself until you're 21. Things about gender, I think we should allow people to get to a place where I'm going to say they're sure, they are able to make that decision. Because we've seen instances where people have transitioned very early, and then the transition back. And we've seen instances, I think there was a time when the young person was suing Travis Scott and said, oh, you shouldn't have allowed me to do this. Because I now see children test boundaries. They test things, they experiment. Before I became white, but when I was growing up, this might not be the good example. My dad was taking me to school and it was like, when they ask you what you want to be in future, blah, 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 blah. I said, I wanted to be, those yellow fever. Yeah, and the reason for wanting to be a yellow fever is because when we get to traffic stops, this guy would just do boom and stop my dad. So I felt if I was a yellow fever, I'd just be giving my dad pass to be. So, do you know what I'm saying? It tells you the way a child thinks. At some point, I wanted to be a journalist. At some point, I wanted to be a nurse. Eventually, when I grew up, I knew what I wanted. So there are times where kids are not sure.
They're never sure.
Yeah.
When Renee was 4 and she was living nursery, I still have the picture. What do you want to be when you grow up? The girl said she wants to be a hairdresser. And that's because she has Barbie dolls that she does her hair. Now, she wants to be a physician. I know tomorrow it will be something else. So they still play around. You might think, well, the sexuality, they know who they have from it. We have Miss Arara that knows right from the onset. There's some people that don't.
Yeah.
So I think we need to sit back and think about this consciously. Are we doing more damage than good?
Okay, Jude, let me come to you. What do you think about this? Because now what she has also said in this new bill is that doctors cannot give puberty blockers to youths or to teenagers that are trying to undergo. And what the puberty blockers does, for example, if a child that was assigned male at birth wanted to transition to become a female, they would, at some certain age, they will start taking the puberty blockers so that their voice that might deepen will not happen. And all those beards and things like that will not grow. Do you understand? So how is this fair for those children that really, really know? Because apparently, there's some children that are really competent and they know what they really want. Is this fair for children like that?
Is that for me?
Yeah, for you, Jude.
Okay, this is it. We're 5 of us here. I think the 6th person drop off. That's how you form society. We're having extreme difficult conversations, but this is how you form society. And we then come to a line where we draw common lines, commonalities, and we have that compromise. The government does not exist. Government is abstract. It is what we accept. Now that woman was elected. Maybe is the governor a woman?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe she was elected based on those
principles.
This is what I would do.
Agenda.
Exactly. This is what I would do. And they voted for her. So society means majority of society agrees with what she said. Again, me and all of us here, we're all professional. We know the age of consent. And Yoris just spoke beautifully about children. When I was growing up, look, if I was still in Nigeria, I don't think Derele would have taken that position. I was Derele. I was wearing body hugs. I was wearing fella pushers. I was wearing high heels because we were rapping. And this is how I used to go. And I was carrying afro. And I used to plait my hair this long. My mom loved my hair and she knew I love hair. So all of this, were there confusion? I don't know. There were times I really wanted to be woman because I just liked the way women were given attention to. oh, they kiss them, they touch them, they buy them stuff. I had all of that growing up as a guy. But you already spoke about it, but I was a child still growing. We didn't know we were children then because, back home, Nigeria, they're born into that system. You were an adult from 2 years old selling akamu and all. So you grew up hardcore life, you know what I mean? But we were all children. I had those same thoughts. So what this governor's done, we're talking of consent. We're talking about what Yuri spoke about. Now, why would you give a 13-year-old boy poverty blocker to stop what is natural from coming out? And then they become 20 and they regret that. I think what she's done is protection. Is that not what we want as society for our children? We want to protect our children. I mean, now look at in this country, like I said, we wrote the so-called human rights, whatever, but we're one of the most atrocious when it comes to applying those rules. But the good thing about this society is issues come up, we discuss, we deliberate, and it becomes a bill. It becomes law. This society, too, one time, the consent for women getting married was so far back. They keep shifting it. And there are active organizations in this country who want to make it legal for people to have sex with children from the age of 12. The pedophilia group. One of the Labour MP then was part of that group. She supported the group somehow, and people outed her out. So there are sinister things going on out there. But we as people and society always have said there should be protection for this part of this section of the populace. And also as an adult, we call them vulnerable. There should be protection. Otherwise, there'll be abuse everywhere. So I think along the policies they voted her on, along the policies she's delivered on, she's doing what society wants, protect the children. Is it against children's human rights? You will need to go ask UN and the definition of human rights and the consent age. Children up to the age of 16, in some countries, I don't know for Alabama, they don't have the powers to make those decisions. At 16, yeah, you still have your parents to help you make those decisions. It's only when you cross to 18. So it's a thing for consent. And I think if that's what she was voting for, she's right. I don't know Alabama. I don't know how their law operates,
So, but before I come to you, Bidemi, Ade, you said something about Alabama is a very religious state. So do you think the reason why she's made some of these laws is because of religion?
It's possible. Very possible.
That might be one factor, as well as the people that vote a campaign agenda. Because if she has gone to a campaign and said she's going to do that, and people are like, yes, we need this. Yeah. This is what we want here, based on the predominant religious people, and they've got the upper hands, and she's saying she has to deliver to the majority, which is what she's done. And I think in a normal sense, come on, we just need to stop hiding things and hiding under a cover. What is not good is not good. What is right is right. Right? People need to speak.
So, but shouldn't we try as much as we can to separate religion from the Constitution? Mr. Jabajansi, let me come to you. Shouldn't we try to separate religion from the Constitution?
Well, let me tell you, religion sometimes helps to maintain order in the society. Understand? And also help to protect in the society, and also help to secure the society. Religion does not tell you when you are angry, go and hammer someone on the head because they upset you. Do you understand? It preaches law and forgiveness. Those are the things religion preach. Religion says, do not kill. Some religions say don't abort, or whatever reason they're saying that for. Do you understand? And now they're not saying you can't be gay, but there's certain limits. We want this to be established. Not now. Don't impose it on every child. We don't want child to grow up to get confused.
But the thing is, where she has stopped the doctors from being able to administer puberty blockers, then this will affect the children in the long run if they really did want to transition.
Now, when they get to that stage, you can train your voice to whatever later stage, but do not take a drug to suppress what you're supposed to be. And when you grow up to an age where you fall, oh, I've gone the wrong way, you've already done the damage. You see? But when it's natural, you can actually train yourself to speak certain way. So when you want to put on your transgender ability, you should be able to do that if you really want to.
Right. Okay. Mr. Jabajantix, you have something to say about this before we round up?
Well, we have to understand that in the past, religion was the politics. That was what was used to control the human nature. It's only civilization that brought about constitution here and there. But we also have to understand that in some places, to win election, you have to be religious. And in some places, to win election, you have to be indifferent. So if she's about not giving puberty blockers to youth till they're 16, I think it's still okay. Between 1 and 16, you're still okay. The moment you hit 17, 18, then the real thing will start coming out. Then you know what you want to be. You can block it or block it. You know, I'll stop here for now.
Okay, so we're all in agreement. So we're in agreement that what this governor has done is protecting the children.
It's just according to the law. I'm not in agreement with whatever she's done. I'm saying according to their law.
Yeah.
But it's good. Again, I said it's good we have these discussions because this stage we are in this world is why I always point to Nigeria. Nigeria is a blank slate. So what we do now, we echo in forever into eternity. So we need to decide what sort of society we want to live in. That's how we got to where we are in this country, where the age of consent is very important. It's very key. In age of consent, you can't buy cigarette at 16. But I think Buki advised me, if I'm correct, you can join the army at the age of 16, right?
Yeah.
Is that with parental consent or?
Not really.
Exactly. You see, so with consent, we can go do that yourself, but you can't buy cigarette. You still have to wait for an adult. So we need to understand, why is cigarette different from carrying a gun to go into the army? We need to understand why children need to be protected at some certain stage. And there's biology in all of this to develop well enough to their frontal and whatever lobe develop enough to help them make those.
The military one is to make the numbers up.
Exactly.
The cigarette one is to save the government spend on healthcare.
Now you see, it's not. Thank you
Agendas.
for that. You see, exactly agendas. So you go back to, what is our agenda? Is she just kowtowing to the religious or
maybe it's to save money. Maybe it is to save money.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It could be to save money. It could be, you know what?
You see, in every decision where the government are making, there's what they call cost-benefit analysis.
Exactly.
Right. So that's what they have to go and weigh the options and say, okay, yeah, this is the law we can use for that.
And it's the same thing with our toilet we were talking about.
Yeah.
You will think these things are a joke. It's quite expensive to start building new facilities. Trust me, when you work in local authority, you see how difficult it is to even approve budgets. There was a toilet recently they wanted to build near my house. And the councillor said they budgeted about 250 grand. And she was really angry. See, that toilet just gives some people 20K, they'll do it. But they've budgeted 250K. So it's cost analysis as well. Do we start building genderless toilets everywhere? Do we accommodate everybody? Where's the land for that? Do we give them grants to gyms, to swimming pools, to restaurants? They're going to collapse. So this is why we're having these heated conversations everywhere.
Because you also passed a law that says that, you know, people must use the toilet of the sex they were assigned at birth, you know? So I don't know if, I'm assuming this does not apply to trans women that have completely gone through that transformation, the journey. And because come on now, if I'm a trans woman and I've completely, you know, transformed, I'm not going to go into a male toilet. F that. I'm going to go into but then even if you haven't fully transformed, but you're dressed, you're a trans woman and you want the public to see you and identify you as a woman. Now, when you get to the toilet, which one do you enter? And according to Miss Governor Ivy, you must enter the toilet of the sex you were assigned. So again, you know, I don't know, it's a catch-22 because,
what she's effectively saying is, she's fired the first shot. If you're not comfortable, we'll leave. There are other states. Bye.
I was just going to say that what would happen is obviously with people that need to access puberty blockers, we'll probably have to leave Alabama and go,
and go somewhere else.
Yeah. And then for those that remain there, is make sure you use the toilet before you leave your house.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I've seen people move to Hammersmith area because provision of care there is free. And they've run from other boroughs and will then start dealing with it, ordinary residents. So you move to places. Go to Chicago if they're laissez-faire there. Go to New York if they're laissez-faire. That's it.
Right. Anyway, on that note, I think we've managed to move from Nigeria to the UK and to America. It's funny that all of these things are happening at the same time because Nigeria's own came out 2 weeks, about a week ago, and then UK one came out this week that was finished, or something about transition therapy or something like that, and conversion therapy, sorry. And now, you know, this has come out in the United States. So I don't know.
See, there's a link. There's an underlying.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something that is about to be born that we don't know.
There's a link. There's
As they
sponsors
say,
everywhere.
watch this space.
Watch this space, you know. If anything,
After COVID is another thing. So wait.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway.
Agenda 22. I'll just give you a hint. Agenda 22 is called, 21 is gone.
Yeah.
22.
It's the next battlefield. This or climate change is the next battleground.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we're going to have to do this in parts because we're almost nearer to 2 hours on this, because I didn't want to cut it. I needed us to, as Jude said, this is a difficult conversation that people shy away from, but we need to have those difficult conversations so that we can get a resolution, or we can get to a point where we are all respectful of each other and we can understand where each other is coming from and know how to just tread carefully so that nobody feels marginalized or nobody feels like, you know, their views are not acceptable or they're not accepted in society. Because ultimately what we want is for the LGBTQ community and, you know, and other communities that there are out there to coexist in love, respect, acceptance. Okay. And this is what this is what we always preach on this show. We want equality regardless. We want acceptance regardless. We want love, respect, you know, and these are the things. And I think even with us talking about things like this, people who are watching this would learn from this, because we've said a lot of things. And I think we've been able to cover a lot of areas where we've spoken someone's mind, or we've asked questions on people's minds, and, you know, people have been able to learn a thing or two from this. But on that note, I'm going to end it. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and we'll see you again same time next week when we bring another topic to your table.